Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into one of the absolute most terrifying, frustrating, and frankly isolating experiences an American family can ever go through. I'm talking about that moment when the healthcare system you completely rely on just turns into a massive, insurmountable financial wall. We're looking at the incredibly high cost of health insurance claim denials. It's something that impacts millions of us, but the mechanics behind it, they're kept deliberately hidden. So my goal today is to drag all of that out into the open so we can actually see the machinery working behind the scenes.
$84,000. Just let that number sink in for a second. Picture this. You, or maybe a loved one, just survived a major health scare. The surgery was a total success, the scary hospital stay is over, and you're finally sitting at your own kitchen table, just starting to feel like you can breathe again. And then you open the mail. You're fully expecting an explanation of benefits saying your insurance handled it, right? But instead, you're staring at a bill for 84 grand. Your stomach literally drops. The panic just hits you instantly. It is this incredibly visceral shock of getting an astronomical bill for a procedure you were 100% sure was covered by those premiums you pay every single month.
And then, buried deep in the fine print of that same document, you spot these 6 words: services deemed not medically necessary. Think about the sheer whiplash of that for a second. You remember the incredible warmth of your recovery, right? The dedicated nurse holding your hand, the intense care from your doctor, the literal physical relief of healing. Now contrast all of that human warmth with the cold, robotic text of this denial phrase. With basically a few keystrokes, some faceless entity has completely upended your financial life, casually dismissing the intense trauma you just survived.
Section 1. Decoding the denial, the language of rejection. So if you ever find yourself caught in this nightmare, or if you just want to understand our modern healthcare landscape, you really have to know their language. What exactly is a claim denial in literal dictionary terms? Well, it's the refusal of an insurance company to honor a request by an individual or provider to pay for healthcare services obtained. But here's the thing, this isn't just some innocent paperwork glitch or a minor delay. Functionally, it acts as a sudden, terrifying financial roadblock. It's a definitive hard no from the institution holding the purse strings, and it leaves you, the patient, holding the bag for the massive retail cost of your care.
Which brings us right to the main weapon they use to give you that no, the concept of medical necessity. It's defined as healthcare services or supplies needed to diagnose or treat an illness, injury, or disease that meet accepted standards of medicine. Now that sounds totally reasonable at first glance, doesn't it? But do not let that clinical language fool you. This phrase is absolutely critical. It's the exact bureaucratic battleground where millions of claims die. The whole fight hinges on those last few words, accepted standards of medicine, because the fundamental question becomes, who exactly gets to decide what's accepted?
This perfectly illustrates the problem. On the left side, you have your doctor's recommendation. This is life-saving, critical care ordered by an actual human physician based on your unique, specific needs. Your doctor knows your history, they've examined you, they understand your pain. But over on the right side, insurance company coding. This is literally an algorithm, a computer program, or maybe an administrator sitting hundreds of miles away, deciding that the care your doctor ordered doesn't neatly fit into their standard financial parameters. It vividly shows this brutal disconnect between a physician desperately trying to treat a human being and a massive corporation that's just processing a billing code.
Section 2. The bureaucratic maze. System mechanics.
Now that we know the language they use, let's shift gears and map out exactly how a patient unwittingly gets trapped in this administrative web. Let's look at the life cycle of a claim, step by invisible step. Step 1 happens out in the open. The procedure is ordered by your doctor and performed. You think you're good. Step 2 happens behind closed doors. Your provider's billing department submits a bunch of alphanumeric codes to the insurance company. Step 3, the machine takes over. An insurance algorithm automatically scans those codes against thousands of internal cost-saving rules. And finally, step 4, a rule is triggered, the claim gets flagged, and boom, it's denied. Seeing it laid out like this really makes it clear. You were rejected by a math formula long before a human even really looked at your case.
Section 3. The human cost. The emotional fallout.
It is so easy to just get lost in the clinical bureaucracy and the corporate definitions of all this. But we have to zoom out and look at the devastating real-world fallout on regular families. Endless loops of customer service calls, repetitive hold music, transferred departments. If you've been through this, you know this reality is enough to make your blood pressure spike. It is an agonizing, incredibly time-consuming nightmare. You're already sick, or you're caring for a child or a spouse who's sick, and suddenly you have to take on this unpaid, full-time job of navigating an automated phone maze just to find one single human being with the authority to actually explain why you were denied.
And honestly, the friction of those phone calls is just the beginning. These compounding stresses turn a standard medical issue into an all-consuming life crisis. We see depleted savings and outright financial ruin as people literally drain their retirement accounts just to stave off collections. We see delayed or entirely abandoned medical care. We are talking about patients literally stopping their life-saving treatments because they just can't endure the financial risk. Severe emotional burnout and anxiety tearing families apart. And ultimately, it's this massive, endless administrative burden placed squarely on the shoulders of the sick. It is so profoundly flawed that the system demands the absolute most effort from the people who have the absolute least physical and emotional energy to give. So if you feel frustrated by this, your frustration is completely valid.
Section 4. What happens next? Fighting back.
We've looked at the pretty dark reality of this whole process, and I know it feels incredibly heavy, but we've got to pivot toward the future. Because while the system absolutely feels rigged, your story does not have to end with the arrival of that denial letter. So I want to leave you with this one powerful question. When the system says no, how do you force it to say yes? You know their language now, you've seen the algorithms at work, and you know exactly what's at stake. But the appeals process, the actual tactical fight to overturn a denial, is a totally different landscape. There are specific strategies, legal rights, and loopholes you can use to fight back and actually win. But how exactly do you deploy them? Well, we are going to uncover all of those answers in our next explainer. Until then, stay curious, keep asking questions, and whatever you do, never take the first no as the final answer. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.